Hey, and welcome back to the channel and to this segment of Jazz Your Blues, where we listen to one 12-bar chorus of blues playing by a player who has done something to twist the ear during that chorus. So we dive in and figure out exactly what they're doing. In our crosshairs today is Tomo Fujita. All right, so you probably know who Tomo Fujita is, but if you don't, he's a excellent guitar player who is a professor in the guitar program at Berklee College of Music. He's really well known for being John Mayer's guitar teacher during his time at Berklee. To be honest with you, I found out about that after I had already been getting hip to him, because he was showing up in these videos playing with some of my favorite guitar players like Matt Schofield and Josh Smith and Kirk Fletcher and that sort of cohort of guitar players. He's got a huge online presence, a great educational YouTube channel, and then some more comprehensive lesson content called Guitar Wisdom over on his site. So I'll remind you at the end of the video and link in the description below. But in the meantime, let's have a listen to him play the chorus that I opened this video with, which was at the NAMM show in 2016. And he's on the stage with Josh Smith and Eric Gales and Matt Schofield. Let's take a listen. So I'm going to play that back a little bit more slowly, and then we will dive deep into exactly what he's doing. All right, let's dive in. As we move through this, I am going to be putting some tab and notation on the screen for your aid. Just a quick disclaimer, the rhythmic values in that tab are not going to be 100% accurate, to be completely honest with you. I'm still somewhat of a novice tabber. The entire process is new to me. It gives me fits. That said, I know that 99.9% of you aren't necessarily following the rhythmic values in the musical notation side of it. For these purposes, largely what you're doing is looking at the tab as a visual aid, cross-referencing it with what you're hearing with your ear to help connect the dots for what's going on in the solo. And for those purposes, this is all going to work exactly fine. For the very small percentage of you who are reading the actual rhythmic values on the music, I apologize for the inaccuracies there. All right, so let's hop right on in. The context here is he's a couple choruses deep. The previous chorus comes to an end, and he finishes that up and leads into the chorus that we're going to study with this little phrase. So we're in the third position, major pentatonic, aka the BB box. And so he plays something you should be very familiar with. And then he lowers this bend by a half step and pulls it back up. Is what he's playing straight away. And then he builds on that motif. He opens just all right there in this little shape. And then he's going to hit this C on the 13th fret of the B string and bend a whole step up. Catch the D on the high E 10th fret. And then he's going to do a big 1.5 step bend from this E, 12th fret on the E string, up to this G. So all of that together is. And then he sort of lowers this down. Right, so he lets it down and hits this D. Back to those 3 notes we opened with. Then he's gonna reach up and grab this F sharp, 14th fret on the E string, 14th fret, bend on the 12th fret B string, come down to the 10th fret B string. And then we're moving to the 4 chord, and he plays this. And so what he's doing here is highlighting the D7 that's happening underneath, right? This arpeggio shape. But what he's doing is he's starting on the G, and he's encircling the F sharp. So he's playing 1 note above the F sharp, then he's playing 2 notes beneath the F sharp before landing on the F sharp. Right, and that F sharp is the 11th fret on the G string. And so after he hits the F sharp, he grabs this A on the 10th fret of the B string, which is the 5th of the D7. And then bends up from that C again, which is the 7th of a D7. And he's obviously capping the phrase by bending up to the D from the C, and then hitting the D itself, 10th fret E string. Now here is where he begins turning the ear. He plays. So that's a diminished arpeggio that's built on the 3rd of the chord, right? So if you haven't used a lot of diminished in your playing, one of the bite-sized insights that you can take away is that you can build a diminished arpeggio on the flat 9, aka the flat 2nd, the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th of a dominant chord, and it's going to sound pretty good. So here he's building that diminished 7th arpeggio starting on the F sharp, which is the 3rd of the D. So that's 11th fret G string, 10th fret B string, 13th fret B string, 11th fret E string. And then from there, he comes up to this F sharp, so resolving to the 3rd of the chord, which is where he started, and walking it down chromatically. So 14, 13, 12, and then he grabs this C sharp right here, 14th fret on the B string. So all of that goes. Then once he hits this C sharp, you're going to grab the 10th fret and the 12th fret, and then come down to the 8th fret with your pointer finger, which is a C, and you're going to play. All right, so this is just the 2nd box of the A minor pentatonic, right? And Tomo is just playing these notes. And then he slides into the 9th fret at one point, because that's the major 3rd and is a totally valid option there. He grabs this 9th fret on the G string, and then he falls down to this G. But all of that is in that box. Then he's walking chromatically down 9th fret, 8th fret, 7th fret on the G string. Playing a little triplet trill thing here where he grabs the 8th fret again. is all still really just second position A minor pentatonic. He grabs the 10th fret of the D string and hits this A, the 7th fret of the D string, before walking down back into the first position by playing 7th fret of the G string, 9th fret of the G string, 5th and then 6th fret of the G string, 7th fret of the D string, 5th fret of the D string. So all of that was and right when he gets here, the 5 chord is coming around, and he's going to outline that by going right. So from the 5th, hammer onto the 6th fret of the D string, which is our G sharp, the 3rd of the E7 that's happening underneath. And then he grabs the E on the 5th fret of the B string, and then hits this blue note. Right, that's our flat 5 in the key of A. And he resolves it down to the D, 7th fret of the G string, which is the 7th of our 5 chord, right? So he's played all the chord tones now. And then he plays just this little major pentatonic line that starts on the F sharp, because the 4 chord has hit now. So this F sharp is hinting at the 4 chord. That's just, 7th and 5th fret B and E strings with a little bend thrown in there. And that leads into something that Tomo really likes to do, which is that gradually ascending bend. He's kind of playing it straight, playing a half step up, and then playing it a full step up. That was not great intonation on my part, but it's one of those things where really, really precise pitch targeting with his bends is something that Tomo loves, and that he's way better at than me, for sure. So that whole phrase went. And then he just finishes it off with a little descending riff that combines major and minor pentatonics. So he releases this bend while hitting right down the minor pentatonic scale, still down the minor pentatonic scale, but including that flat 5. And then he smacks this F sharp, 7th fret of the B string, and then hits the A on the D string again, 7th fret, outlines the major sound by hammering onto the 6th fret from the 5th fret of the G string, hits the 7th, right? That's a G with an A7 going on underneath. And then, as the chorus comes to an end, he begins a line to lead us into the next chorus, like he did leading into this one. And that just is walking up the A major pentatonic and sliding into the major dyad. So from the 5 chord, all right, so what can we learn from that chorus? Well, first of all, I picked this chorus because something about it, when I heard it, made me pay special attention. Something twisted my ear. I thought, oh, that's neat. Let's go figure out what it was. And it turns out that there was really only one brief moment of meaningfully, quote unquote, outside playing. And it was when Tomo hit the F sharp diminished over a D 7. And really, that was just the beginning part of a longer run where he used some chromaticism, that whole thing. But it was just a moment of outside playing. But what he did was, after giving us that little ear turn, everything resolved very quickly. We were brought back into familiar territory, aka the second position of the A minor pentatonic. However, in addition to playing something that was harmonically quite different from what we were used to, he played something rhythmically much different from what he was playing in the rest of that chorus, right? He was primarily in an eighth note with some triplets thrown in feel, and for that stretch of playing, it was 16th notes and 16th note triplets. So he was grabbing our ear with two distinct methods at the same time. So that's a good takeaway. If you're going to try something harmonically different, see if you can do something rhythmically different as well to complement it. The other thing that Tomo does really well is using bends melodically. We had everything from just little quarter note bends in there to give the pitch a little bit of a bluesier feel, all the way up to big 1 1/2 step bends where the guitar is really howling there. And he's accomplishing all of this just in 12 quick bars, while of course hitting more or less all of the changes. So that's the genius of Tomo Fujita. If you liked hearing me teach about Tomo, I guarantee you would like being taught by Tomo. Make sure you go to his YouTube channel. You probably already know about it. He's also got his Guitar Wisdom courses, which are great. So make sure you go check those out. If this was at all helpful, I'd appreciate it if you gave the channel a subscription, if you gave this video a like. Also, don't hesitate to drop me a line in the comments if there's a chorus of blues that you think is really interesting that you would like to hear me break down in this style. Just let me know about it and I'll see what I can do. But until next time, thanks.